Hello, beautiful soulmates. It's Whitney IY here, and you're welcome back again to this YouTube channel. And if this is your first time here, you're highly welcome. Please do well to hit the subscribe button and also click on the notification bell so you'll be notified whenever I drop a new video. So my client made an order for this beautiful two-piece wrap top and gathered skirts, and I thought to share with you how this was made. Yes, the drafting, the cutting, and the sewing of this beautiful two-piece. So if this is something you're interested in, do well and keep watching, and also never touch the dial. These are some of the items I'll be making use of. I'll be making use of this crepe material. It is 3 yards and it is of the very stretchy type, unfortunately, very stretchy. And I'll be making use of the thread and the zip as well. For the pattern drafting, I'll be making use of the pattern paper, the tape rule, the tape, and the pen. If you don't have a pattern paper, you can make use of your cardboard paper, your newspaper, or any piece of paper that you find useful that you can make do with. Now, I'll be drafting out the back pattern because I'll be using this back pattern to, draft out the front pattern as well. So in drafting out your pattern, the very first step you would want to take is to come down from the beginning of your paper by 1 inch just to mark out the starting line or the top line. So I'll do so. I think in several of my videos I've explained the reason why it's quite or somehow necessary to do this, but this is optional. You can just go ahead and start your drafting if you wish, but this is what I do occasionally, most times, not all the time though. So I'll go ahead and bring in my rule and just connect the dots to get a straight line. Now that this is done, the next step is to divide your shoulder measurement by 2 and mark it out. So the shoulder measurement I'm working with is 15 divided by 2 gives me 7.5, which I've marked out here. The next step is to mark out the armhole depth. Now, to get the armhole depth for the individual you're working with is to divide their round bust measurement by 6 plus 1.5. And for me, I got 7.1 inches after calculating. Now, taking a look at this outfit that we are recreating, you can see that the armhole of this person is quite fitted. The shirt is fitted around the armhole. So if you want your armhole to be very fitted, leave it like this. But if you want some form of ease around your armhole, add half an inch after marking out your armhole measurement. You add half an inch to it. So on this armhole, I am marking out the shoulder measurement just to make sure I get a straight line when connecting the armhole back to the shoulder like this. Now that this is done, the next step is to go ahead and mark out the neckline. Now for the neckline, you can either work with the regular 3 inches as the neck width, or you can go ahead and calculate for the neck width for the individual you're working for or working with. Now to get the neck width, divide the round bust measurement by 12, and after dividing the 34 inches I'm working with by 12, I got 2.8, and that is what I marked out as the neck width for my client. Now, after doing this, next you go ahead and mark out the neck depth for the back pattern, which is 1 inches, and 1 inches is the standard neck depth for the back pattern. Now, I will go ahead and connect the neck width to this neck depth to get the neckline for the back pattern. Next step is to go ahead and come down by 1 inch from the shoulder like this, just to get that shoulder slant or slope. Our shoulder is not straight, it is quite slanted. So I'll go ahead and connect this 1 inch to the neck width like this to get the shoulder slant or the shoulder slope. Next step is to go ahead and divide the round bust measurement by 4. So obviously the round bust measurement I'm working with is 34. Divided by 4 gives me 8.5, which I've gone ahead to mark out here. Next step is to bring in my rule and connect this straight down like this. Now that I've done this, the next step to take is to go ahead and find the midpoint of my armhole like this, fold over the tape like so. and just press this edge here just to get the midpoint, or you can divide whatever you get between this point by 2 and mark it out like this. After marking it out, I will come in by 1/2 inch from this point. Remember, this is the back pattern, so I'll come in by 1/2 inch. For the front pattern, you come in by 0.75 inch. So I'll go ahead and connect these 3 points together like this using the curve rule. You can use your end, do a free hand if you don't have the curve rule. I think I've done a lot of free hand, connecting the curves, and it always comes out well. So if you don't have the curve rule, do not kill yourself. Use your hands and draw out a nice curve. Next step is to mark out the under bust line. So measure from the shoulder to the under bust and mark it out. So from the shoulder to the under bust, I'm working with 13.5 inches, and I'll go ahead and bring in my rule to connect the dots to get a straight line like this. Now that this is done, the next step is to go ahead and mark out the waistline. Now take note of the fact that for this outfit, there is no form of that. So therefore, there is nothing like the back waist length, the front waist length. Rather, we are making use of the front waist length measurement as the waistline for both the front and the back. And looking at this top, you can see that it is a wrap crop top or crop wrap top, whichever. So meaning it's going to stop around the waist, right? So for this, my clients, 17 inches is the front waistline. So that is what I'll be using as the waistline for both the front and the back. And this is where this wrap top is going to stop, around the waist, obviously. So I've connected the dots to get a straight line. So this is the waistline, this is the under bust line, and this is the chest line. Moving on the under bust line, you go ahead and divide the round under bust measurement by 4 and mark it out. So the round under bust measurement I'm working with is 29 divided by 4 gives me 7.25, which I've marked out. On the waistline, divide the round waist measurement by 4 and mark it out. The round waist measurement I'm working with is 27 divided by 4 gives me 6.75, and that is what I'm marking out here on the waistline. Right now, I'll go ahead and bring in my rule and connect from the bust measurement to the waist measurement that I just marked out here like this. Now that I have this, it's time to cut this out. So I'll go ahead and bring in my scissors and cut. Just watch how this was being cut out. So right now I have this back pattern, so I'll go ahead and bring in the fabric and place the back pattern on it. But before then, I'll be leaving 1/2 inch allowance here on the neckline, 1/2 inch on the shoulder, 1/2 inch on the armhole, 1 inch or 1.5 inch for the side seam, and 1 inch for the hemming allowance. I stated earlier on that the fabric my client brought in was a very stretchy crepe material, right? And so when dealing with stretchy fabrics, there are a few tips you need to take note of rather. And the major one is when cutting, you need to take note of the side that is very stretchy and the part that is not that stretchy. Now looking at this fabric, you can see that this part is very stretchy, and you can see how stretchy it is, yeah. And take a note at this other side, you can see it's not that stretchy. So when I'm cutting, I'm going to use this part that is very stretchy for the width of this top, and this part that is not that stretchy for the length of this top. I hope you do understand. If you don't, just let me know in the comment section, and I'll try as much as possible to explain better to you. So I'll go ahead and fold this in and put in the pattern paper. So right now you can see I've placed the pattern paper, and you can see I've left 1/2 inch allowances here, 1 inch here, and 1 inch for the at the end. So I'll go ahead and bring in my scissors and cut this out like this. So right now I have my back pattern, so I've removed the pattern paper, and this is the back of the wrap top. Moving on, the next step is to alter the armhole and the neckline of this back pattern to get the front pattern. So to do that, I will alter the armhole here on the pattern, and for the neckline I'll be doing that on the fabric. So for the armhole, remember I've already come in by 1/2 inch. So to get the 0.75 inch, just go ahead and come in again on that midpoint by 0.25 inch. I hope you understand. So that's it. So 0.25 plus 0.5 gives you 0.75. So I'll go ahead and bring in my rule and connect these 2 points, these 3 points rather, together to get the armhole curve for the front pattern. And after getting the perfect curve, I'll go ahead and bring in my scissors and cut this out. So once this is cut out, the next step would be for me to fold over my fabric into 2 as well and place this pattern paper on the fabric. And always remember to take note of the non-stretchy this part that is not that stretchy to serve as the length, and the part that is very stretchy to serve as the width for the top. That is if you're working with a very stretchy fabric, not even very stretchy, if you're working with a stretchy fabric. So right now I have placed the pattern paper on the fabric, and you can see the way I left excess at the center front, and you can see the excess that is being left here on the center front, and you can see the way I just placed the pattern paper on this fabric. So right now I'll go ahead and add 1 inch for the side seam here, half an inch for the sewing allowances, and 1 inch for the hemming allowance. And after marking that out, I will show you guys. So right now I have marked it out, 1 inch here, half an inch on those armhole, shoulder. I'll go ahead and cut this out. So I just want to cut this part out, then we'll focus on the center front, right? And I'll move over the fabric like this so that we can be able to see what will be done on the center front. So right now it's time to alter this neckline to get the front neckline. So to do that, go ahead and place your tape here and mark out about 5.5 or 6 inches. So you can use either 5.5 or 6 inches. For me, I'm marking out 5.5 inches, and you can see the way I placed my tape. Yes. Now after doing that, the next step is to go ahead and curve from your neck width here. So you can see when even marking out the neckline, I made sure that the tape was on the neck width to mark out the 5.5. So you go ahead and curve like this, and while curving you have to mark out how long you want your wrap top to be. So for me, 26 inches is what I'm going for. You can mark as long as 30 inches, 40 inches, 50 inches, especially if you want your wrap top for you to be able to tie it to the front. You can mark 50 inches, but for me, I'm managing this fabric, so 26 inches is okay for me, and I will curve it down to this 26 inches that I mark out here. So you can also use your curve rule like this, just to get, if you have this particular type of curve rule, you can use this also to get a nice curve, or you can also use your hand to curve it. And if you also have a curve rule, you go ahead and double check with your curve rule if you're on point. So next step, I'll go ahead and just make sure that this curve is curving. To make sure that the curve is curving, So I'm just making sure that I have a nice curve, because this is what makes a wrap top look beautiful. This helps to avoid gaping or gapping, whichever you understand it as. It makes the wrap top to relax well on your body or on your client's body. So right now I'm adding half an inch allowance here, like this, to this curved part. So this half an inch allowance is going to serve as the hemming allowance for this curved part, right? So now that I'm done, I'll bring in my scissors and cut this out like this. And I'll also go ahead and cut out the hem. Make sure you leave 1 inch for the hemming allowance. So this is it. The front pattern is ready. So I'll just go ahead and remove my pins and lift up the pattern paper. So this is just me indicating the wrong side, although this is not necessary because I can easily tell the wrong from the right side. But if you can't easily tell the wrong from the right side, make sure you indicate the wrong side. So this is the wrap top once it's sewn. This is what you would have. So right now it's time to draft out the sleeve. So make sure you come down by 1 inch from the starting of your paper. That is the very first step in pattern drafting. So this is cutting out, this is me drafting out the sleeve for this wrap top. So after doing this, the next step is to mark out the cap height line. Now, to get the cap height line for the individual you're dealing with, divide the round bust measurement by 12, plus 1 inch. So the round bust measurement I'm working with is 34, obviously, divided by 12 plus 1 inch gives me 3.8. So that is the carpet line, and that is what I'm marking out. So I'm marking out 3.8 inches here, as you can see. So you can see the way my tape is being placed while I am marking this out. So I'll bring in my rule to connect the dots to get a straight line like this. Now that I have this, the next thing is to mark out the length for this sleeve. Now, my clients requested for the length to be 6 inches. I totally forgot. I marked out 6.5, but I later corrected this. So the length of the sleeve my client wants is 6 inches, and that is what I am marking out right now, 6 inches. That is how long she wants the sleeve for this shirt to be, and that is how long the sleeve for this wrap top that we are recreating is. It is about 6 to 7 inches long. So I've marked the 6 inches out like this. Moving on the carpet line, I'm going to divide the round bust measurements by 6 plus 1.5. So after dividing, I got 7.1, and that is what will be marked out on the carpet line here. Now, on the sleeve length, measure the round bicep measurement and mark it out. So for my clients, a round bicep is 10 inches, so giving me 5 after dividing by 2. And I'll go ahead and mark it out and connect this to what I have on the carpet line. Now, looking at this shape, you can see it's very deeply slanted, if there's any word like that. So to get an appropriate shape, I'm just going to add 1 inch here like this to the sleeve length, to what I've already marked out on the sleeve length, and reconnect it back to just get a nice sleeve shape, sleeve curve. So this is seldomly done on rare occasions. So right now, connect what I have on the carpet line to my starting line or top line like this to get this triangular shape, and I'll get the midpoint of this triangular line like this. Fold over my tape. By now you should know how to draft out a sleeve, because I've done this basically on most of my videos here. So after marking out the midpoint, go up by half an inch from the midpoint, and then you're going to draw a nice sleeve curve. Yes, and that curve, make sure it doesn't exceed this half an inch point that was marked out, the half an inch that went up with. So you can see how I'm placing the curve rule, making sure that this curve does not exceed the half an inch that was marked out like this. So if you don't have your curve rule, you can make use of a freehand, your hand. That is what I'm trying to say. You can make use of your hand to draw this curve. Just make sure you get the nice curve. So you can see how the curve rule was placed to get the curve. So right now, I'll go ahead and bring in my scissors and, cut this out like this. Now for the allowances, I'll be leaving 1 or 2 inches at the hem, half an inch for the side seam, and half an inch at the cap. Now for the side seam, obviously you've left about 1.5 inch allowance on the bicep. So I hope you understand. So right now, I'll use this to cut out 2 of the sleeve and leave the necessary allowance. So you can see, for me, I left 2 inches allowance at the hem, half an inch at the cap, and half an inch for the side seam. So if you want to aim it the normal way, more of like run a stitch through it, you can just leave 1 inch. But for me, I want to make use of aiming gum. That's why I left 2 inches for the hem. Now that the back and the front pattern of the wrap top and also the sleeve of the wrap top has been drafted out, it's now time to draft out the skirt pattern. Yay! So in drafting out the front skirt pattern, as usual, you're going to come down by 1 inch from the beginning of your paper like this. So you're going to go ahead and do that. So after marking this out, I'll go ahead and bring in my rule and connect the dots to get a straight line. And of course, this is my starting line or the top line. So from this line, I'm going to mark out the hip line, and I'm making use of 9 inches as the hip line. If the person is a short person, make use of 8. If the person is quite tall, make use of 9. And if the person is extremely tall, make use of 10. Like, you know, those extreme heights, make use of 10 inches. Or you can just go ahead and measure from the waist to the fullest part of the hip. So this line is referred to as the hip line. Next is to mark out the knee line. So go ahead and measure from the waist to the knee and mark it out. So for this client, the waist to the knee is 22 inches, and that is what I am marking out. So I noticed this particular video didn't capture it, so I had to readjust to make sure you see it. So you can see 22 inches, that is what I marked out. So I'll bring in my rule and connect the dots to get a straight line. So make sure you measure from the waist to the knee line. So this is the knee line for my client, yes. So my client specified that she wanted this skirt to be 3.5 inch above the knee. That is how short she wants this skirt to be. So from the knee, I measured 3.5 inches upward, and she was okay with that length for the skirt, with that place being where the skirt is going to stop. So from the knee line, I'm marking 3.5 inches upward, as you can see, and I'll go ahead and connect this together. So you can actually measure from the waist to where you want the skirt to be. Anyhow you want to take the measurement is okay, but from me, I took it from the knee upward, and she just pointed out, okay, I'm okay with that part. So that is the skirt length. Next, I'll go ahead and divide the round waist measurement by 4 and mark it out. So for the round waist, I'm working with 27. Divided by 4 gives me 6.75, which I've marked out here. And on the hip line, I'll divide the round hip measurement by 4 and mark it out. So the round hip measurement I'm working with is 36. Divided by 4 gives me 9 inches. And that is what I've gone ahead to mark out here on the hip line. So right now, I'll go ahead and bring in my rule to connect the waist to the hip like this. So because this is a gather type of skirt, there is no need for knee contouring and all of that. You can mark out the hip measurements on the knee line and on the skirt length. But for the sake of those that want to do the slash and spread method for the gather, you can just go ahead and do the knee contouring or just follow the normal process of the skirt drafting. Yeah, pattern skirt drafting. So on the knee line, just subtract 2 inches from what you have on the hip line, and mark it out on the knee line and connect like this. So since we have 9 inches on the hip line, 9 minus 2 gives me 7, and that is what I marked out on the knee line. Yeah. So at this point, the front skirt pattern is ready. So I'll go ahead and bring in my scissors and cut this out. So watch how this was cut out, so you can see how this was being cut out. We all know that skirt always has a waistband, so for that single reason, you'll be marking out your waistband. So for the waistband, I want it to be 1.5 inches wide. Yes, I think that brings out more beauty. You can decide 2 inches or 1 inch, but 1.5 inches is okay. So after marking it out, I'll bring out my rule and connect the dots to get a straight line like this. Yeah. And after doing this, make sure you indicate every necessary stuff. So this is the side front and this is the center front. So here is the waist and here is the down part of the band. So if this skirt were to be the normal pencil skirt, I'll be leaving 1 inch at the hem here, right? And also 1 inch on the side seam here. So right now, just go ahead and cut out the waistband. So I'll bring in my scissors to do that. So I'll go ahead and cut this out like this. So now that I've cut this out, I'll be leaving half an inch here for joining the band to the skirt. And also I'll be leaving 1 inch here at the side front. And for the upper waist, you can also leave half an inch or just use the normal regular method of attaching a waistband. So I almost forgot. Now, looking at the picture, you can see that this gather is at the fullest part of the hip. Yes. So for that, we're going to cut open the hip line like this, because this is where we're going to sew in the gather. The gathers. Don't mind me, I'm being playful. So yeah, I'm going to be adding half an inch to join this part of the skirt to the gathers. And for this gathers, you can go ahead and do your slash and spread method. Don't also forget to be leaving half an inch at the top of this gather pattern to also join this to the other part of the skirt. So you can just go ahead and just rule lines like this, then slash them open, cut them open, and then spread them on the fabric. You can spread as much as possible. You can leave 5 inches, 10 inches, depending on how full you want the gather to be. But for me, I'm not necessarily going to do this, but I'm just saying this for people that want to do the slash and spread method. So now that we have this, I'm just going to go ahead and put the pattern papers together and pin them together. Yes, so I'll go ahead and do that. So this is the gather pattern, so I'll go ahead and pin them together. Very necessary, so I don't misplace any of this. So right now it's time to draft out the back pattern of the skirt. So as usual, come down by 1 inch from the beginning of your paper like this. Go ahead and do just that. And then after doing this, I'll bring in my rule to connect the dots to get a straight line like this. So after doing this, I'll bring in my tape and mark out the hip line. So from the waist or from the top line, I'll be marking out 9 inches as the hip line. So for this back pattern, I'm not drafting out everything because I feel it's not necessary. But if you're doing the draft slash and spread method, you can go ahead and draft out everything. And the link on how to draft out a skirt pattern will be on the description or on the comment section. So next is to do the back tightening, which eliminates zip budging. So on the center back on this top line or waistline, go in by 0.75 like this and connect this to the hip line using your rule. So what this simply does is it eliminates that zip budging. Yes, when you put on a skirt, it just helps this zipper part of your skirt to relax well on the bum bum. So next, go ahead and divide your round waist measurement by 4 and mark it out. So what I have is 6.75, and that is what I'm marking out. You can see that I placed my tapes from that back tightening that I did earlier on. So next, on the hip line, divide your round hip measurement by 4 and also mark it out. So I have 9, and I'll connect the waist measurement to this hip line. I hope you don't understand. If you do not understand, just drop your question on the comment section, and I'll try as much as possible to respond to you. So at this point, I'll just go ahead and cut this out. Yay! And don't forget to also indicate your center back and your side back, and go ahead and cut it out. And for the allowances, I'll be leaving about 1 inch here at the side back, 1 inch at the hem, and also 1 inch on the center back. I didn't get to write that out, but take note of that. And for the band, I'll also be marking out 1.5 inches like this, because that is how wide I want this band to be, and that is what I marked out for the front waistband. So 1.5 inches it is. And after marking it out, I'll bring in my rule to connect the dots to get a straight line like this. So now that I have this is the waist part, this is the down part, this is the side back, and this is the center back. Always indicate, do not forget. So I'll go ahead and cut this open like this. So I'm cutting out the waistband of the back pattern. And after doing this, for the allowance on this waistband, I'll be leaving half an inch here at the waist here, half an inch here for joining this waistband to the skirt, and I'll be leaving 1 inch at the side back. And for the center back, 1 inch, don't forget, 1 inch for the center back. So at the top of the waist, you can also leave half an inch or use the regular normal way of attaching a waistband. So right now, I've cut out the fabric for this front skirt pattern, and always remember the rule of the non-stretchy part and the stretchy part when it comes to working with a stretchy fabric. So you can see the allowances that I left. Always remember to notch your zipper section where your zipper starts from. That way you get to know your center back on your fabric. So for the waistband, I also went ahead to cut out the waistband. You can see the allowances that I left. 1/2 inch at the top here, 1 inch for the side front, and 1/2 inch on the down part. And for the back waistband, you can see I left 1/2 inch at the top and at the down, and 1 inch at the center and side back. So I had to break this video into two for proper understanding so that it will sink in well. Yes, so you can go ahead and get a cold drink and sip, and then head over to the next video. So the next video is all about the sewing and the putting of this everything together to get this beautiful wrap top and skirt. So if you enjoyed this video and if this video was helpful to you, do well to hit the subscribe button and also give this video a thumbs up. That is your way of supporting me. So the link to the sewing video will be pinned on the comment section. So soulmates, let's head over to the sewing video.